We don't have a problem with Muslims, I'll make it very clear. But what's being allowed to operate in this town that I've seen, my friend's dad was murdered, knifed in the head in front of his child. His child was my age, 11 years old. My cousin was a victim who was taken by these gangs and raped and prostituted. And then she climbed back out the window to get back to them for a drug fix at the age of 13 and 14. And all the police would say is she's a drug addict. Now she's a child who's been targeted. Yeah? So I'd seen all these things. I organised my first protest, ban looting Taliban. I stood up in the town centre and I read out my leaflet and said to the police, we've had enough of the heroin, we've had enough of the violence, we've had enough of the terrorism. We'd done a homecoming parade after 12 months to Luton. It cost them £2 million to police it. Yeah? I said, I can guarantee you, I know Theresa May sitting at the time as Home Secretary, probably watching these live events. Okay, this is big. They cannot ignore it much longer. They have made me successfully, they've done a campaign to make me toxic. Too toxic to even talk to. The reason they've done that is because they feared the ability I had to galvanise people together. The ability I had to get numbers of people active. We could get more people active than any political party could. Yeah? We get more people out on the streets than any political party could. So they didn't like that. I've got 2 injunctions now from courts. I'm not allowed to tell you or show you evidence I have. I'm not allowed to show you covertly recorded footage I have that prove corruption, that prove people are being paid to remain silent. Governments are paying people not to talk. If we don't do something now, if we don't stop what's happening, then the next generation, which is all of our children, they're going to be slaves. They're going to be victims. They're going to be in fear. And if someone has to fight, I want to fight. We have to stand and make a change. But that was always about Islam. Where we're at now, crazily, for a lot of people, I don't see Islam as the biggest threat to all of us. I see government tyranny. And madly, I keep saying I see Muslims being our allies in fighting this.
Yes, people, welcome back to Karen TV. Today, delighted to have a very special guest, award-winning journalist, political prisoner, politician, someone who's quite thought-provoking, very articulate. Without further ado, we are with Tommy Robinson. Tommy, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, thank you.
And how would you describe yourself?
Well, you'd have triggered a few with that description. I describe myself now, I'm an activist, I'm a journalist, free speech activist and a journalist. And a hooligan. And you can list about 10 other things if you go on my Wikipedia page.
Of course, I did go through it.
Ignore Wikipedia, don't believe what you read.
Of course, I think that's the case with most people's Wikipedia, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can add what you want to it, can't you?
Yeah.
But obviously it's first time on the channel, so I want to go back slightly and ask you sort of what made you go on the path that you did in terms of activism and all this sort of stuff. I know you were brought up in a very multicultural place in Luton. And
so I was brought up in Luton. I'd seen a lot of wrongs and I tried to work them out as a child. I still remember going to school. When I first went to my high school, that's when I first experienced a lot of Pakistanis and the way they divided themselves and separated themselves and sort of a pack mentality that I hadn't seen, hadn't experienced, didn't understand it. And then I just growing up, because you mess with one, you might as well call on war with the whole tribe. They come from everywhere. Yeah? You mess with a child at school when you're 13, there's 20 men outside the school gates. This was only with the Pakistani community. So that was my experience. I didn't class them as Muslims at that age at all. There wasn't a lot of talk of Muslims. They were Pakistanis. And they were very different to us. And they were very hostile, aggressive. Of course, as I go on, I'm talking in a per se sense, because some of them were great as well. And I actually, even the main gang lads, I was friends with because they were similar to me, in my upbringing. But what I experienced then, just little things like, I was going out with a girl called Charlotte, my friend Cameron was going out with a girl called Lisa. Cameron's dad turned up at Lisa's house. Lisa rang up Charlotte crying and saying that they can never be together, this can't happen, and the whole family were crying. And I was thinking, what's all that about? What do you mean they can't be together? Why can't they be together? As kids, I was only 12 at that time, and the dads were all, and then it all become threatening and aggressive for the family because the daughter was in a relationship and she wasn't allowed to be as a non-Muslim with a Muslim. So just little things that I experienced. And then we talk about when September the 11th happened in Luton at our local shops, we had Magnificent 19 posters plastered everywhere. I remember getting phone calls from my friends who were at the college at sixth form saying they're all cheering, there's cheering and celebrations. Then they'd done a big march through the town on the 1 year anniversary celebrating September the 11th. So to many people, this seems absurd, this seems unthinkable. If you go on my Oxford Union speech, when I gave a speech at Oxford University, I showed all the evidence of this. Yeah? I showed the posters actually on the shops where we tore them down. So when September 11th happened, there was a lot of wake-up calls from me. The biggest wake-up call was the Beslan massacre. The Beslan school massacre was in Russia and Chechnya, and it was where Islamic radicals had took over a school with hundreds of young children in. The parents had all come outside the school gates, and you can watch this. I remember watching it, and it was the moment that changed everything for me. I remember watching it, and as the parents were outside and the police holding them back, the army are there, the kids are all inside, and you can hear them screaming as they're being butchered. So they're murdering all the children, and the parents are standing outside with their hands on their heads and they're screaming, they're trying to get through the police lines to get to their kids. And I remember thinking, what could drive someone to go and massacre children? Not one person, this isn't a lone attack, this was a big group of Islamic jihadis. And then, so I saw that, it awoken me, and 3 weeks later, or a couple of weeks later, I saw a YouTube video of some Pakistani Muslims in a chicken shop in Luton saying that an attack like that would be justified on an English school. And I remember looking, thinking, who is this dude? Yeah, I found out his name was Saif al-Islam, Sword of Islam. There's a famous video, he hits me through the car window. Sword of Islam, that's his name. And I looked at him, and at that point, I looked at who he was, I looked at who the group were. They were members of Al-Mujahideen, and they're now a prescribed terrorist organisation, but they never were. Their head office, Omar Bakri, Abu Hamza, all the main terrorists, their organisation's head office was on Biscuit Road in my town, where I live, where my friends live, where our families live. And I remember looking at this group thinking, and this group used to stand outside Don Miller's bakery every Saturday, and they would recruit, and they were in our national newspapers openly celebrating the fact that they were sending people to fight against British armed forces abroad. So I looked at this group, I looked at where their head office was, and I thought, we've got to do something about this. Like, this cannot be allowed. So I organised my first ever protest, and it was called Ban the Luton Taliban. And it was in 2004, 2003. Yeah? It was Ban the Luton Taliban. And I'd done it as a group of football lads. I thought, they're outside Don Miller's, not this Saturday, no, they're not. Yeah? We're coming. So I went around the town, I made leaflets, and these leaflets, again, they were in my Oxford Union speech. And if you read these leaflets, and you listen to what I say now, nothing's changed. Yeah? I talk about racist attacks and religious attacks against whites and blacks, yeah, being committed in our town. I talk about our young daughters being prostituted and pimped by paedophile drug dealing gangs. So this was before any talk of the grooming gangs. Yeah? I lay it out in the leaflet, and I say we don't have a problem with Muslims. I make it very clear. But what's being allowed to operate in this town that I've seen, my friend's dad was murdered, knifed in the head in front of his child. His child was my age, 11 years old. My cousin was a victim who was taken by these gangs and raped and prostituted, and then she climbed back out the window to get back to them for a drug fix at the age of 13 and 14. And all the police would say is she's a drug addict. Now she's a child who's been targeted. Yeah? So I'd seen all these things. I organised my first protest, Ban the Luton Taliban. I stood up in the town centre and I read out my leaflet and said to the police, we've had enough of the heroin, we've had enough of the violence, we've had enough of the terrorism. And the knock-on, the effect of that was, it wasn't the jihadis that were after me. I named a gang called the Gambino Gang. There's 100-strong Pakistani mafia in Luton who deal with the Al-Qaeda. It's been in national newspapers. I know a lot of them. Yeah, went to school with some of them. Yeah, but this mob enforce criminality linked with funding Islamic extremism in my town. So I named them. And I was a young, 21, 22? Man, they all come for me after that. So I was and at that time I was a young football hooligan. That was what I grew up, and I aspired, crazily. So a lot of my family members, my uncles, my cousins were members of Luton. They formed Luton's Men in Gear. It's a football hooligan group. And as a young lad, that's what I gravitated towards. And I think it was a bit of a search for an identity. I was brought up in a town where white English are a minority. My mum was Irish. My stepfather, who is my dad, who brought me up, was Scottish. I guess I was searching a bit for my own identity. I found it at football.
It's easily done as a teenage boy, though, isn't it? When you are searching for yourself, and all the tribalism and everything goes with it. It's
a similar person that converts to Islam.
Yeah.
It's a similar sort of, because you're at that age, and remember in Luton, and these are things. Celebrating St George's Day was banned. Yeah, they sent out letters to schools: do not bring in emblems of St George, or you'll be suspended from school. Now, when Pakistan won the cricket, they're all bringing Pakistani flags into schools. The teachers are all celebrating it. But St George's Day, it was always felt like we were suppressed with part of your identity, and that made I guess it makes people rebel. But I was searching for that, and I found it at football. So I organised this demonstration. Gangs come after me after that. We sort of fought a bit of a battle as young football lads for years after that with a lot of the drug gangs, because I guess we were the only non-Muslim group that would stand up and could get the numbers to stand up. And then comes 2009, which was, I'd say this changed my life, but 2009, it was a soldiers' homecoming parade in Luton. The Royal Anglians, one boy, Scott, was only young, he'd died from the estate I'm from, in that regiment. Another boy who I know very well lost his legs, only 18 at the time, 19 maybe, 18, 19, lost his legs, and they were given the parade through our city, and they come under attack by this same group, who still at 2009, they weren't prescribed. They weren't a terrorist. 60% of terrorists in jail now were ex-members of this group. This group were given free rein to radicalise and recruit in my town. Yeah? We stood up against them. That's basically it. And we stood up against them in 2009. And that's why I used a fake name, Tommy Robinson. The press may have told you my name is actually Stephen Yaxley Leonard. Yeah, they keep liking to remind me, but it was that reason that I used a different name, because I just got through. I was young and up for a battle. So when those gangs wanted it, we were up for it. Yeah. Move forward. I'm now a father. It's 2009. My life's on track. I've got successful businesses. Between me and my wife at the time, or my partner at the time, we had 7 properties. We're doing very well. Yeah. I didn't need all that clashing again. So 2009 comes, I wear a mask and I use a fake name. And I stand up, and the soldiers' homecoming parade happened. Soldiers come under attack, but they spat in one of the soldiers' mums' faces. And for me that day, we know who they are. I know how they think, every one of them. I know them. Yeah. It wasn't the fact that they'd done it. It was the fact that they were facilitated and accommodated to do it. The police knew they were going to do it, no one stopped them. Every mosque in Berry Park and Luton was leafleted, no one came out to stop them. No one came out to oppose them. Yeah? So when I saw them, and they actually got took through our town hall, think of that. They are Al-Qaeda. They are the Nazis of the millennium. That's who they are. Yeah? And they were taken. I remember standing watching. I remember turning up for Soldier Homecoming with my cousin, Tuesday morning. I think it was a Tuesday. Just turned up to show our respects. And I remember looking and seeing police everywhere, thinking, what's going on? And then I looked across to see about 20 women in burqas all together, all niqabs. And then as I look around and start spotting the radical, the jihadist. I thought, there he is, because we know them all. There he is. One of them, Roger Ibrahim Anson. He's done jail time for ISIS. He was one of my old mates. Before he converted in jail, he's in for an armed robbery. So I see all them all. I thought, what's going on? And I thought, they're going to attack it. And what you don't know is there's about 80 of them, but only about 15 so they're taken through the town hall to go right in front of our soldiers. From me to the you now in the camera, they put them in front of our armed forces as they march past. Now, just a hypocrisy in it, because if I have a organised protest against a mosque or anything, you're not even allowed within sight of it. Yeah? They were, and the problem was in that year in 2009, they'd never been told no. The council had never said no. The government had never said no. Since the Bradford riots, the concessions given to the Islamic community on everything, because of the fear and intimidation that the government have from them, through the threat of rioting and the threat of violence and the fear of being called racist and diversity is our strength and all this bullshit, yeah, is what paralysed our authorities in dealing with lots of problems, from rape of children to terrorism to integration, all these things. They actually encourage segregation. They encourage them to say, yes, you can have your own Baghdad here. No, you can't, okay? There's no integration, no assimilation. So all these things went on. Soldiers' Homecoming Parade. And that was the day it changed my life, if I'm honest. Totally. Because from that point on, my life changed. I stood up. And I remember at the time, I spoke to my cousin Kevin, who was with me the whole way through. And I remember we shook hands and said, you can't go into this 1 foot, yeah? We know what we're up against here. We know who we're up against. I've previously experienced it. But when they done it to the soldiers, that night we met up and I said, they've just attacked our armed forces in our town centre. They've just spat in their faces. Police have let them do it and they've turned their batons on us. So we said, if we don't do something now, then what's next? A soldier's funeral? They're going to turn up at a soldier's funeral. They have done the utter disrespect of the group of people that we hold dear with the highest respect and high regard in our country, other than our mothers or our daughters. It's our armed forces. And they've just absolutely took liberties. Mm. And so we decided then. We shook hands and said, if we go in, are we going in? Because if I hadn't had Kev next to me, and Kev didn't have me next to him, I never would have had the courage to do it, I don't think. I think because we knew we're together in whatever we face here, then we could constantly speak to each other. If they're threatening me, they're threatening him. And that spiralled. And what we started as the United People of Luton, it wasn't English Defence League, it was a Luton issue. We started trying to tackle what was going on in Luton, and quickly it spread like a wildfire across the whole nation to become the phenomenon that was the English Defence League. Crazy times.
Yeah, so it was obviously quite the journey up until that point there. So it literally went from the sort of football hooligan stuff, then patriotism and seeing bad stuff going on in your community under your own eyes.
And the first ever UPL demo was a community. It wasn't hooligans. It was community. So I organised it. So my aunties were there, and what the police done. So they've attacked our troops. They then banned St George's Day because of tensions. Yeah, there was meant to be a parade. There was meant to be all children's celebrations. They banned it all. Right? This was straight afterwards. So I'm reading the paper thing and see you've banned our national day now. You've banned our identity, the chance to celebrate who we are. That's been banned because of these lot. They've attacked our troops. You've let them do it. So I set up a petition. The petition was calling for ASBOs to make sure that these terrorists, because that's what they are, all of them are now convicted terrorists, yeah? All that group. Right? These terrorists are given ASBOs, preventing them from standing in our town centres on a recruitment drive. And we went into the town centre. I got 3,500 signatures. Contacted the council, wouldn't meet us, wouldn't talk to us. Yeah? No one cared. Right? They didn't care. They weren't worried by us. At that point, I thought, right, we'll have a demonstration and we'll march with the petition. So I get all of the community. We all come to the town centre, women, children, prams, everything. And the police block us on horseback, and they don't let us get to the war memorial. So the war memorial that they let them get to, they spat in our soldiers' faces. You're not letting us get to show our respects today. Yeah, and they kettled us for 3 hours. And as they kettled us, my auntie had to urinate in the street. I remember thinking, now they wouldn't do this to Muslim women. They would never have made them urinate in the street. Yeah? They didn't care about us. And not just they didn't care about us, but the way of policing was so two-tier in their community, our community. They then drew their batons. They knocked my little mate, Isa, a little black lad. He had his teeth knocked out by a Kosh. And I videoed it all. I paid a wedding cameraman £450 to video that day because I knew what they'd do. Yeah, I knew, and I wanted the world to see the treatment we receive. So there's a video. They come up to us in the street. They throw us up against the wall. We're all in the town centre, and they start putting their hands in our pockets. They make us take our shoes off. They're searching us, and I said, "You didn't do this to them. I was there. You didn't put your hands on them. They come out and attacked our soldiers. You didn't treat them like this. So why are you treating us like this?" And then that first day, so when they kettled us, and they beat us with batons, and the horses charged us. I remember that after that day, I've said it many times, you could have lit a match and that town would have blown up. The anger amongst everyone was like, no. And I'm saying, you're not doing this. You're not getting away with this, yeah? So that was the first protest, which they basically kettled, they stopped. They didn't let us get to the War Memorial. So I planned another one. And 2 days after the first one, 14 dawn raids. Now, one of the house I went to was mine, yeah? And they picked someone from each estate, pretty much. And it's to put fear into the rest of the estate. So they come to mine. I weren't there. They've arrested all the lads they have arrested. They then give them bail conditions.
But what was they arresting you for?
It's public order, right? No charges were brought, okay? But they arrested everyone and they give them bail conditions. Your bail condition was you can't enter the town centre for the next 3 months, right? So what we've done is ask you to do to them, right? So we've asked you to give them bail conditions to prevent them in our town centre. You've nicked us, yeah? I remember going. So at that point, then. We said, no, it's not happening, yeah? And I organised another demonstration 3 weeks later. It was the next bank holiday. We'd done it on the May bank holidays. Next bank holiday, and this time, and there was a lot of talk, people were wanting to make petrol bombs, people were wanting, the town was ready to blow. I mean, like rival estates that hate each other were all coming together, yeah? And I went around all the different estates talking to everyone saying, listen, we have to do something, yeah? Because the way we're being treated here, what the police think they can do to us, they has to be a backlash to it. And that's when the balaclavas come out. And the balaclavas come out, I went and got balaclavas, I bought 50 balaclavas, 100 balaclavas, I bought t-shirts. And
had the EDL been created at this point here?
No, still UPL. Yeah. Still UPL. And I set up a YouTube channel called Luton Protest. You can go watch it now. The original videos are all on there. You can see them. You can see the first one, calm, families, we got under attack. The second one, we're not coming under attack. That's the mentality, yeah? And literally 500 men turned up. And it was just a mob of 500 men, maybe more than 500. I gave the balaclavas out from when we met in the morning, because I had a balaclava on, because I was wanted. I had a warrant out for my arrest from the first one, for nothing. They dropped it, yeah? So we've done this, I hand out all the balaclavas, and they try it again. The police try, all we want to do is get to War Memorial. And then there's a charge, and everyone runs like a mob through the town. There's chaos that day. Chaos, helicopters around, riot police around. And I remember ringing the police beforehand, and I said to the police, I rang on anonymously, because I was using a fake name. I rang up and said, I need to speak to the police about what's going on today in town. I basically said, if you don't let us get to the War Memorial, I'm telling you, the town's going to burn. Yeah. So there's a lot of anger. I'm speaking as a representative of what's going on. There are people wanting to cause a lot of damage at the minute. And it's not aimed at the Muslims. Yeah. It's aimed at you lot. Because of the way you're policing this. And a lot of police threatened to walk out. Because the police were told, and we know all the local police. We're from the town. They had to get Met Police in. Because the police didn't want to deal with the second one. They had to bring the Met in. Because Luton Police went in with badges saying support our troops. And they sent them home.
But even the Met Police, just quickly interject, what happened to the directions come from up above?
Yeah.
Because very quickly, I was talking to one of my friends who's very high up in the Met Police last night, and he's a massive fan of yours. Yeah. But they will still have to do as they're told, and these directions come from above. But do you think it was the way that they tried to control everything that added fuel to the fire?
Totally added fuel to it. And the police were upset. Because the police were told they can't wear these badges as they support our troops, and they said, no, we're wearing them. 60 of them got up to walk out. When they had their big briefings, they said, no, we're wearing them. Because the police were made to look like they were supporting the jihadists on the day, local police. At that point then, the police have said, we're not policing this because the way you want us to police it. So they brought the Met in. Yeah? They brought the Met in to smash us, basically. At that point, Luton Police and then Luton Police, it went round the radio because I know a police officer, and he said that there was Muslim cars driving around, and they were told any groups of white males in cars, any groups of white males in the town centre, grab them, search them. So a radio went through from the copper saying, we've got Saif al-Islam and that in the car, the Muslim group, they said, don't pull them. And the police are telling us this. We've got directives, we're not allowed to pull them. We've got directives that we're not allowed to do this, and we're told to come down on you lot. So this is going on, the police, and I said, the police aren't our enemy. We tried saying that to you, you're not our enemy. We know it's the way you're being forced to do it. But this is now about equal rights. And that was the United People of Luton. And on the second demonstration, it blew up onto the world's news because of the balaclavas, because you had 500 men at the town hall, you had potential riots going off with the police, you had all this, and I went then and I took the video and I went on lots of football group messaging boards saying Luton have decided to make a stand. Luton have decided to make a stand. It's time we stood up in this country. It's time we've done this. And Al-Mujahideen, the terrorist group, weren't there. They weren't there the next Saturday. Yeah. And then obviously tensions were boiling. And then this same group, they were doing an Islamic roadshow. So they'd left Luton attacking our troops. They'd then done one in Wood Green. So we went down there in the back of a van, about 50, 60 Luton lads, and we confronted that. It stopped their roadshow. And then we missed one, and they'd done one in Birmingham, and they had a big banner that read Jesus was a Muslim. And there's hundreds of them. And there's a little white boy called Sean. You can watch the video. Again, it's in my Oxford Union speech. They get him up on stage. They say, repeat after me, repeat after me. This little 11-year-old boy and his friend are out shopping in the town centre, and they convert him to Islam in the middle of the town centre. And they're all cheering Allah Akbar. And they've not been converted to Islam by some spiritual Sufi sect of Islam, some really nice, like Ahmadiyya, peaceful sect of Islam. They've been converted by jihadist terrorists. Yeah. And I remember going like, if a Muslim child was put up on stage in the town centre, age 11, and converted to Christianity, without his parents' knowledge, there would be riots. And the politicians would be speaking about it. They'd be condemning it, and they're being making sure this doesn't happen again. I remember watching it and I thought, let's see what happens. And not one person said anything. So we took the group of Luton. I said, this is now a national issue. We need to go to Birmingham, lads. So we decided, we're going to Birmingham. And we moved from Luton to Birmingham. We gave ourselves the name the English Defence League, and we got absolutely battered, basically. They came out in their hundreds, yeah, and they smashed everyone. They smashed innocent people at bus stops. They jumped on their heads. I remember that, and this was what it woke me to the media, because there was a white boy. He went with us, wearing a green top, and he's on the floor. He's unconscious, and they're all jumping on his head. And the picture reads: "A fascist." This is the Daily Mail. Yeah, a fascist is attacked by anti-fascists. I remember reading it like, an innocent boy is being violently beaten because he's white. You're calling him the fascist. You're calling them the anti-fascists. They're the victims of this. But no one spoke about why we were there. No one spoke about Sean. Even our first placards in Luton, when we were the UPL, we had National Front go to hell. We chased the National Front for the second demonstration. National Front turned up. I remember we sat down in a pub in the town centre. This is when we were all mobbing up, all Luton's main lads. And I sat down, and this big white lad sat next to me. He goes, who's organising? I said, I'm organising it today. He goes, don't worry, 20 National Front just got off the train station. I said, you see when they get here, bruv? He went, yeah. I said, they're fucking dead, mate. And he went, what? He'd come from Barnet. He said, what? I said, look around this pub. Yeah, you got what? You got blacks, you got Indian kids in here. Yeah, that's what Luton is. Luton's football culture, Luton's football identity. We're everyone. Yeah. So I said, we're going to smash them when they turn up. And then he got up, went out. The police jumped on him when he went out. But then the National Front did turn up. They got run out of town. They got run out of town by Luton's football lads. Yeah? They got run out of town. So we've never, from the start, we've made it very clear where we stand on them, on Nazis, on...
Of course. So from the start, though, sorry to interject. So what was the objective of the EDL? What was sort of your mission statement? What was...
Missions, originally, our tactics were to get this group and highlight them and whatever they're doing. And then it was about Islamic radicals, and sort of, when we went to Birmingham, we got violently beaten. And we had about 50 lads up there, and they come from everywhere. But then the pictures of that went all around the nation, all on the newspapers, videos of Muslims chasing lads down the street and beating them up. Our next demonstration was in Manchester. And when we turned up in Manchester, literally 2,000 lads turned up. And that was the start then. I remember thinking, whoa, what have we got here? We've got a firm, and we've got a resistance here. The objectives of the English Defence League was to highlight the problems that I've experienced in Luton and seen the change in Luton. I realised very quickly after talking to people, it's happening everywhere. I realised the rapes against children is happening in every town. Because as we grew, we started speaking to people in different towns. So the objectives changed early. What we knew changed early, because we started speaking to people in other towns saying they're doing that here, they're grooming girls here, they're abusing children here, all the different things I'd seen. All the police inaction that I'd seen, I realised, no, Luton's like a blueprint for every town and city. So I realised, and that's why that's why so many people just come out, because they've been feeling it, silenced, can't talk about it, can't highlight it.
So it was sort of to
Islamic radicals highlight
it and to target them at all, or in any way,
just
like how we
to
highlight it, to bring it
to a forefront.
Attention.
Bring it to attention. Make sure they can't ignore it anymore. And when you've got 3, 4, 5,000 lads marching through cities, holding up placards, bringing cities to a standstill. I know the police we've done a homecoming parade after 12 months to Luton. It cost them £2 million to police it. Yeah? I said, I can guarantee you. I know Theresa May sitting at the time as Home Secretary, probably watching these live events. Okay, this is big. What we're doing here is big. We are forcing behind doors in corridors of power. They're talking about us. Yeah, which means they're talking about what we're talking about. They cannot ignore it much longer, and they won't give us credit for it. But if you draw a graph and you look at the arrest rate of when grooming started being tackled, English Defence League forms here, it's a straight line, and literally 6 months later, boom, through the roof. The police start investigating, start operations, they start tackling them, they start talking about it. Media, Andrew Norfolk was given all the awards for highlighting this. He actually says himself, he'd heard about it for years, but he didn't want to, because of the difficulty in it being Pakistani men and white girls, he ignored it. So Andrew Norfolk's a coward as a journalist. He ignored it. He's been given all these awards. He says in his own words, he ignored it because he was scared. Yeah. Along come the English Defence League, he wanted to take it back from the far right. So he's a coward. Along come Englishmen who are fed up, and then he wants to even demonise us for standing up and take it back. So he decided to report on it. Great that he did, because it boomed, because he's a middle class, well educated toff, and that's who they listen to. They hate us. They hate the way we speak. They hate the way we walk. They hate the way we talk. They hate our identity. They view us down here. So it took someone, and it needed someone with a posh accent to talk about these issues, and thankfully they did.
Of course, but sort of looking back with hindsight, you know, the way that you said the objective was to target the radicals, which is completely understandable, you know, and obviously the government weren't this. But do you think the mission statement should have been something slightly different, maybe for the strength of Britain, or sort of to protect Britain or England, and even if it was to target because they were the problem today, so it was rather than a negative sort of thing, it would be a positive thing in terms of, and obviously we don't know what tomorrow's problems might be a different problem here tomorrow, so it might able. Yeah, it was only in the name and the way it sort of might have helped it as the way how it's perceived.
I think the name. So we didn't remember. So anyone thinking about it as well, we didn't plan any of this. I was working on a building site. 6 months later, I'm leading the biggest street protest movement.
So it's just all organic from what happened in the environment, and everything sparked off.
And I'm making decisions of what I think's best. That's it. Yeah? Let's do this. Let's go here. What do we do now? Let's pay for. With those first banners, we all chipped in £2,000. We paid for it ourselves. Yeah, it was all just let's do this and let's target this. And yeah, in hindsight, there's lots of things that would have been better. The name English Defence League, which I do love, and I love the history of it. I love the identity they give people. But it meant something different to some. You could stop 10 people in English Defence League demonstration. Why are you here? I'm here because I'm fed up with this. Everyone would have a different reason. So I was bringing together lots of people with these different reasons. The media were telling the public we were saying we weren't. So then it was also attracting. Remember, we've got a St George's flag. We're an English group. It's going to attract nationalists of the further right. Yeah, it's going to attract lots of people. Yeah? Of course. It took us 2 years. Purity comes with time. It took us years to get purity of who we were and get rid of different ideologies away that weren't welcome with us. And I remember Generation Identity done it. They set up and they were for their culture, for their identity. And it's so much easier for people to support if you're for free speech rather than being against. Yeah, we were constantly against at the early times. We're against this, we're against that. And it would have been more accepted, more palatable for people, I guess. And but as I said, it wasn't planned. It was all...
Of course.
There was mistakes made here, there was mistakes made there. There was infiltration from government bodies. There was undercover people working within the organisation trying to bring... friction amongst each other. They were trying to split the north, the south, and the reason being simple numbers. 10,000 of us in Luton cost them 2 million to police. If they can break the north, the south, and if they can break it into the Midlands, the north, the south, and fragment it, which was they were constantly trying to do. There was constantly calls for it. Yeah? Constant division. If they could do that, then it cost them a lot less to police, a lot less tension, a lot less problems. And then we run the organisation for 6 years. I lead it for 6 years. I'm imprisoned. In the first 6 months of leading that organisation, I had 3 dawn raids, police coming with machine guns. They used terrorism legislation to freeze my assets, arrest my pregnant wife. They seized everything, seized my businesses, seized my money, put me on £250 a week. That's all I could spend. So all these tactics come in. The persecution was early, it was quick, and it was from everywhere. Now, 6 years later, I left the English Defence League. Yeah. Because I felt we'd done what we needed to do in that manner. I was young, 25. I was young, full of energy, full of testosterone, young man. Yeah, sure. Thinking, no, we're not having this. Get years on. I've got kids, and I think we're lucky that no one got hurt. Seriously hurt.
Definitely.
There was plans by 6 Muslims went to jail. They turned up late to a demonstration. They were going to blow the demonstration up. They got caught with guns, bombs, suicide vests. So yeah, lots went on.
But obviously it's easy for us to sort of point fingers at the government, what they're doing wrong, and obviously most of the stuff they do, I think, is wrong. But obviously it's a real difficult issue for them to deal with. So if you were in the government or you were a politician at that time, how would you have dealt with the radicalism problem? Because it's hard to target the whole Muslim community for it. And it is only a small percentage within the Muslim community. Like I said, I've grown up with Muslims all my life. I've got lots of Muslims. And I've never been to jail, seen Muslims. I've not seen any of the radical sort of stuff. But I didn't grow up in a place like Luton.
Well, they need to. They empowered them. They had them sitting around. I'll give an example.
By being a soft touch, they empowered them.
By giving them positions. They empowered them. For example, in Luton, we had an imam called Kadir Bask. He was leader of the Islamic Centre, main imam. We had a Luton in Harmony programme set up in opposition to the English Defence League. So Luton in Harmony, pretending the town's in harmony when it's not. And they give everyone a position. We obviously didn't get a seat at the table, but Kadir was one of the main spokesmen, Kadir Bask. So all I done was I went through his website and got translations of what it says on his website. Yeah? Women must be punished for adultery. Okay, women must be stoned, lashing for all these things. Yeah, about killing homosexuals. This was the translation. So I'm thinking, Luton in harmony, and he's got a seat at the table, and because he's very silver-tongued. So what you get, you see when you convert in jail, a lot of people convert in jail. Then the Salafist sect, the English-speaking imams, because 90% of the imams don't speak English in the UK, yeah? Which they should. Okay, no money should be coming from Saudi, no money should be coming from Qatar, no money should be coming from Iran. Whoever funds and builds a mosque dictates what form of Islam is promoted in that mosque. So we're getting radical jihadist forms, we're getting Salafism, Wahhabism, we're getting all these things, and there are many Muslims who are opposed to it, but they're not being given the platform, they're not being given the voice. The voice is given to the silver-tongued English-speaking ones, which is always the Wahhabists. The Wahhabist mosques in each town, the convert mosques, are the English-speaking, they're the radicals. So Qadir Bask, I'm battling Qadir Bask, yeah? For years, I'm trying to highlight him. They set up a Discover Islam centre. The council open a centre in our town centre to convert people. The council do, yeah. And you can look. It happens in East London. They align with the radicals, right, for the votes. They do a deal for the Luton Council and mosques. Can do a deal with the Labour Party. They can get all the mosques to vote for one party for who they want. That's how it's working. It's dirty politics. It's vote bank politics. But Qadir Bask opened the Discover Islam centre. I then protested and I turned up on the day, and before it opened I produced quotes from the man who was opening it. He had to resign, yeah? He had to resign because of his radical jihadist mindset, yeah? He was gone. They replaced him, yeah? I turn up, the English Defence League, we protest their centre. The council turn up, the mayor turns up, they're all celebrating opening a centre to convert people, yeah, to Islam. That happens. We then, Qadir Bask, I continue my battle against them. I leave the English Defence League. BBC Radio, you can go and get this radio interview if you want. Anyone goes listen to it, but I think Pink News run it. So Qadir Bask is welcomed into BBC Radio by the presenter who, these people are not journalists, okay? The media now is not full of any journalists. They're reporters. They report what they're told to report. A journalist asks difficult questions and investigates. Yeah?
It's hard to be mainstream and a journalist.
You can't. No, they're not.
The two are opposed, aren't they?
There aren't any. Yeah. There aren't any. That's the reality. There aren't any. There's no challenging. Yeah. So the radio presenter is sitting, who I think's gay. Yeah. He's sitting with Qadir Bask. So Qadir Bask on the radio. My phone starts pinging off saying they're talking about you on the radio. I'm in Luton Town Centre. So I walk into BBC Radio and it's on there. Yeah. And I walk in and the radio host says, "Well, being the home of Tommy Robinson, yeah, he's just walked in." Tommy, and I said, let me sit down and talk with you. You're talking about me. He was saying, because I wanted the burqa banned, he was saying I was an extremist. This is Qadir Bask, the Luton in Harmony imam. So I sit down and I say, right, Qadir, can I ask you just a couple of questions? You can ask me whatever you want. Let me ask you a couple of questions. So go on. And if you have to word it right, so I say, in your ideal society, would there be a punishment for homosexuality? And he says, in Britain, no, there's no punishment. I said, no, that's not what I'm asking you, yeah? In your ideal society, if you had what you want in your ideal society, and he can't lie on this because he's an imam, they would lose all respect. I said, would there be a punishment? He said, yes, there would. I said, okay, now we're getting somewhere. So in your ideal society, what would that punishment be, Qadir? Yeah? I know it's death. What would the punishment be? And he confesses, he admits it, yeah? And I sit there, look at the presenter, I said, so the man who's in part of Luton in Harmony, in his world, he'd be killing gay people. But you lot have got me here as an extremist because I want the niqab banned for security reasons. This man here, and I went through, I said, okay, in your ideal society, what would the legal age for sex be, Qadir? And the main thing, this blew up, this interview, yeah? Because here's the imam saying he killed the gays, basically, if he had his way. The police, then Ofsted, he's a head teacher, this imam, of a school called Olive Tree Primary School, which is part of Luton Islamic Centre. Now, the Stockholm bomber, who went and blew himself up in Stockholm, he went to Luton Islamic Centre. All the bomb plots come back to Luton Islamic Centre, where Qadir Bask was. But anyway, so Qadir Bask, Ofsted raid the school, because he's the head teacher. They find books in the children's library about cutting off hands and feet, about stoning people. Books in the children's library. You can't make this shit up, all right? This is what I'm battling against, all right? And this is going on in my town, and they're in bed with the council. And we're the extremists. So Qadir Bask gets outed. So he's outed from there, yeah? Then, your man went on the murdering spree on Westminster Bridge, Khalid Massoud, yeah?
Yeah, one of my friends actually was one of the ones who stopped him, like Steve Gillan.
Was he? Yeah. Well, Khalid Massoud worked where? Luton Islamic Centre. Who is he partners with? Qadir Bask, the imam. Yeah, you can't make it up, right? You cannot make it up. So all this happens. It all blows up. It all blows up. And Kadir Bask is then outed. There's no Luton and Harmony programme. He's gone. So everything I've been telling you, everything I've been warning you against, I've been banging my head against a brick wall. It's took murders and terrorism for you to listen.
Yeah.
And so when Luton Borough Council, there was a woman called Councillor Bailey. Now, when the English Defence League started, I don't trust none of them in that council. They invited me down to a meeting in the council after 12 months. They had the Baroness there, Black Baroness. They had cameras set up like this. And they sat down and said, Tommy, tell us what's wrong. Yeah? I said, okay, I'll tell you what's wrong. You see, our park on our estate is from 1960. Yeah? You go down the road to the Muslim community, they've got a £350,000 state-of-the-art park. Yeah? You have underfunded us. You have ignored us and neglected us. Yeah? And I went through all these things of what they've done and why we're angry. And then I said, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions now. Everyone here. And it's going to prove my point. And I knew it would. All the councillors, all the representation. Where do you live? St Albans. Where do you live? Affluent area. Not in Luton. Hitchin. Not in Luton. Here. Not in Luton. Here. I went through all of them. And Mohammed was there at the end, who's one of them. And I said, you live in Bury Park, don't you? He said, yeah. I said, oh man, you lot think you represent us. You lot think you speak for us. I said, you don't even know who we are. You don't know what it's like to live where we live. You don't know what it's like to be brought up where we're brought up. You're all middle class, yeah? I said, you're all our leaders and representatives and our councillors. So this has all gone on. So I'm having this battle with the council. They didn't give us any reward, but 12 months later, they had started to address a lot of the things we spoke about, yeah? They put funding in, their policies are so mad, yeah? Like we were at Luton, we're at Wembley, and it was 45,000 Luton fans. It was massive, biggest game we've had at Wembley. And I remember standing there and about 12 coaches pulled up and all Muslim kids got off. And everyone was going mad, yeah? Everyone was like, what's going on? They were Luton Borough Council. And I remember then ringing the council on a radio show and saying, can you explain to me what that was about? And she said, well, that's part of our integration policy. I said, you clowns, yeah? You should have filled those coaches with whites, blacks and Asians, yeah? Because so many poor white kids, so many poor black kids would have loved the opportunity to go to that game. But what you've done, in your stupid mindset, is you've caused more problems. Because that 45,000 people have seen them coaches pull up. Everyone at the stadium's angry because they're thinking, again, it's for them. Everything's free for them, yeah, and not for us. And so all these things going on. And Councillor Joan Bailey is the only woman I trusted because she was the only one from Luton within the council who I spoke to. And my friend was in a children's home and she used to be the patron of the children's home. He said she's lovely, yeah. He said she's a really nice woman. She came up to me outside Luton Town Hall and said, Tommy, I want you to meet someone. And I said, who? She said, his job is to understand you, yeah. He's an anti-racism campaigner and he's an anti-extremism campaigner and he's going to be dealing with a lot of things in your field. Do you mind talking to him? I said, yeah, I'll talk to him. So when I met him, I said, spend the next 3 days with me. Come to meetings with me. Yeah, you want to understand who we are? So I took him to meetings. I introduced him as an anti-racism campaigner. No bats and eyelid. I said, everything you say I agree with. I'm against racism. I'm against extremism. I'm against all that Nazi ideology. I'm against all that white pride stuff. So I went through it all with him. Said, I'm with all of it. All the stuff blows up with Kadir Bass. This man's job and his organisation's job is to train teachers, train social workers, train youth workers about what's happening with far right, with these organisations. He goes to give teaching to the police. Who's there teaching the police as well? Kadir Bask, the imam. The imam who wants to kill gays. He's teaching the police, bro. So this anti-racism campaigner said, I'm not doing this. When he said, I'm not doing this with him. What is he doing? What is going on? He's been taken on as a Muslim organisation whose job it is to go in and train the police on how to deal with the Muslim community. So who's teaching the police? The man whose mosque is raided for terrorism, the man who's right-hand man to the Westminster Bridge killer, the man who wants to kill gays. They've infiltrated every system. It's in everywhere, and everyone's so cowards to stand up to it. So all of this, I could go off on 100 different stories like this, but our battle was to get the council to wake up, to stop being in bed with them, stop facilitating the aggression or the Islamisation of our towns and cities.
And obviously, while this is all going on, you've gained incredible support. Yeah. And at this point here, obviously, you've seen the mainstream media control and the way that they can manipulate and stuff like this. So talk to me about...
They can make you a monster or they can make you a hero.
Yeah.
And I realised that once I started doing journalism myself, how easy that is to... I'll give you an example how easy that is. I've just done a documentary on the Barrow that this girl falsely accused Muslim men and lots of other men of raping her, yeah? I went up there. My job was to investigate, is it the truth? I found out very early on that I don't know if she's a victim of abuse, but I know that we can't trust what she says. So at the minute, lots of Muslim businesses and lots of Muslim men's lives are being destroyed based on what she's saying. But she's previously lied here about rape, about violence. She's a liar. Yeah. So I approached the Muslims to ask them questions that needed to be asked. Yeah. Because there's a lot of rumours going around. So I sat down. They all welcomed me into their homes. Yeah. They give me information on some men that are actually committing crimes, and I said, look, I'm just here to find the truth. And I met the Muslim fellow. His little boys were there. They've had to leave school because they're getting bullied over the allegations. He didn't do anything. Yeah. But what I had enough of people saying, and I could have painted a picture very easily, that because the girl was taken to court for the false allegations, she's now in jail. I could have produced a documentary that would have made it look like the men were still guilty. And I thought, oh my God, so what I didn't, I produced the truth. And I said, and from the very start, that's all I wanted to do. But I realised then how easy it is. If you've got a narrative and you've got an agenda, yeah, you just find things that help that. So the media would come to a demonstration with 5,000 people, yeah, lots of ordinary people, black people, Asian people. They'd find a couple of skinhead men, bald head, with a can of beer, and that image would be publicised to the world. Every single English Defence League demonstration from the start of that organisation had a non-white person speak. I made sure of it as the leader. Yeah? A non-white person spoke at every demonstration. We made sure that racists and extremists knew they weren't welcome in this movement. Yeah? The media never showed you that. You were told we're a far-right racist organisation who are against everyone. That's what you're told. Total lies. But and the media's jobs and their hit jobs and the amount of times. But the problem the media had is I had social media, and I'd become big on social media.
So you're able to fight back through that?
I could fight back. I could humiliate them, which is what I've done. I recorded secretly their conversations. I'll give you an example again. Like Jason Farrell, Sky News. He calls me down for an interview. I leave a camera over there before we start. I record the whole interview. I wait for him to publish his interview. The headline that goes, it's this headline. Let me get it up while we're here. Let me get it up. Tell me, because the mad thing is, it's still online, and it's a total lie. And I've proved it's a lie. Tony Robinson, I incite fear. The headline said, I incite fear of Muslims, yeah? Basically, it was me.
But it's like the power of the media is this so the louder the voice or the bigger the platform, the more it's believed.
Tommy Robinson,
yep.
Right? I don't care if I incite fear of Muslims, is the headline, yeah? Basically, I'm talking to Jason Farrell, and we're talking about grooming and rape of children. And I talk about, there was a film made in Holland called Loverboy. And the government made it, and they tried to bring it to the UK in 2007 to warn children about that it's Loverboy. Moroccans in Holland get the girls in love, and then they prostitute and rape them. Exactly the same what's happening here. It's called Loverboy there, it's called Love Jihad in India. Here we call it grooming. It's the same thing. It's rape of kids, yeah? Torture of children, yeah? So I said, they produced this film, and they said, yeah, but... And I said they stopped it through fear of racism, racial tensions. And I said, I don't care if it incites fear, so long as it stops children being raped. So the words I use is, I don't care if it incites. He put a voiceover saying, I put to Tommy Robinson that what you're doing is installing fear. And then they just cut me saying, I don't care if it incites fear. Yeah? The bit I was talking about a film. They actually added, I don't care if I say it. Yeah? And then I took the actual audio and then I put the video out saying, he's totally lied to you. I didn't say this at all. He's added an S. I don't care if I incite. I said it incites. He's actually took 2 letters off to make it fit his narrative. And I put that video out and had 1 million views. Yeah? And this is why they had to get rid of me. Because I was humiliating them in the sense of proving to the public, if he's lied about that, if they've doctored that footage, changed the context of what we're talking about, put a voiceover in to make it fit, cut an hour long... So he sat there for an hour and he kept asking me questions. And he's already got what he's wanting. Yeah? He kept asking me questions. Out of that hour, they used 2 minutes. Yeah. So we can sit here now. You could go through all this footage now, and you could cut certain things I've said, put a voiceover, and totally change the context. Totally manipulate the public. They're not fooling. It's not making a fool out of me. It's making a fool out of you watching. You are being lied to. Yeah, time and time again. And I have proved it. I proved it then. I proved it with Panorama. I made a documentary proving that Panorama is being used to lie. I use my social media.
It's insane, isn't it? The Panorama thing. Anyone who hasn't checked that out, please go and watch it.
Mate, it's
and for this is to be a government establishment who's doing this as well.
This is the best.
Disgrace.
This is meant to be the best investigative journalist company, organisation, Panorama, in our country. Yeah? And they were, and again, just so people haven't watched it, you need to go watch it. My show's called Panodrama. It's why I got deleted and cancelled from the world. It's why they put me back in prison.
The links will be below, people.
Yeah, they put me on I got someone to wear a hidden camera on Panorama. They were doing an investigative thing about me. I got them telling people what to say. I got them making up sexual allegations about me. I got them being so fraudulent in their journalism. Yeah, and then I made it into a documentary called Panodrama. And John Sweeney was the leader. John Sweeney was the man. He lost his job through the BBC. He come out afterwards swearing about me. He lost his job. We proved him as a fraud. We proved him as manipulative. We proved him of creating news. It's what they do. They get. We want this. We want Tommy Robinson to be a sexual predator. Well, we'll make him be one. That's now the media. We want him to have said this. We'll make him say that. Yeah. There's no and yeah, that's why I was deleted off social media. But I'm back on Twitter.
Indeed. So talk to me about like the fight and how far you've been willing to go. Obviously, at certain points you've ended up in jail for exposing grooming gangs, which obviously you should be given a medal for. I mean, obviously you said Asian, but it doesn't matter to me where they're from or Muslim grooming. It's just grooming gangs. Anyone who targets and exposes grooming gangs in any sense is a hero.
Well, how far would I have been willing to go?
And like that's a disgrace. Talk to me about freedom of speech in this country.
There is no freedom of speech, mate. I've got 2 injunctions now from courts. I'm not allowed to tell you or show you evidence I have. I'm not allowed to show you covertly recorded footage I have that prove corruption, that prove people are being paid to remain silent. Governments are paying people not to talk. Yeah, I've got 7 people on covert. I made a documentary called Silence. They just took me to the High Court. The judge gave me an injunction. I'm not allowed to show anyone. I get 2 years in jail.
It's just absolutely disgraceful. And like I said, to fair play for being willing to go through. You're not just here trying to make a song dance about. You're actually willing to go through the lens. You've gone to jail, a place that is heavily controlled by Muslims.
Terrifying.
Who I can fully understand. And
I think when we had
you
things,
did well to get out alive.
I have done. Yeah, I know there'll be lots of people who have orchestrated these plans to silence me will be scratching their heads thinking, he's still here. And he's not still here. He's trending.
Of course.
Yeah, I am. And I'm going to continue. And we said, what was our saying in the English Defence League? Death, prison or glory. And it was mad because at that time I was an amazing leader to that movement. Yeah, but I've said it many times. I was a terrible husband. Sorry, Jenna. Yeah, and I probably wasn't the best father because it took over my life. Because I try and explain it. Try to explain this to your wife. You know, any of you lads out there think you've been in the doghouse, mate. Right? When police knock on the door and say we've got intel, they're going to acid attack you to the wife, yeah, or not. But I think that she could deal with the thing she couldn't deal with probably at times was me going missing, yeah, because I'm leading the English Defence League, and I wholeheartedly believe, which I tried to explain to her, that if we don't do something now, if we don't stop what's happening, then the next generation, which is all of our children, they're going to be slaves, they're going to be victims, they're going to be in fear. And if someone has to fight, I want to fight. I don't want my son to fight. Yeah? And I believe this. I believe that the current climax and what's happening with Islam, the spread of Islam, and Muslims make up 5% of the UK. Yeah, when it gets to 20%, it's game over. Right? And the change in numbers and the demographical change. Let's go back to Luton. 2013, they gave the projection forecast by 2030. And I looked at the community growth. Whites was 1.2%, blacks 1.4% growth. The Pakistani and Bangladeshi community were going to increase by 70 to 77%. This change is going to change the culture. It's going to change free speech. It's going to change what you can talk about, what you can say. Whether the police bring in laws or you self-censor through fear, things are changing. Yeah. Terrorism goes up every year. The amount of attacks in the what we a week now. In the last week, we've had a Muslim arrested at Leeds hospital with a gun and a bomb. Yeah, Mohammed. Okay, we've had a jihad attack in Germany. 2 murdered, 7 injured on a train. You probably don't know this because it don't really make the news anymore. Become desensitised to it. We've had a priest murdered and multiple stabbed in a church in Spain by a jihadi. Just this week. Yeah. Now, if the police hadn't stopped, if our security services weren't as good as they were, we'd have a bomb go off every month. You know, planes would have been blown up, nightclubs would have been blown up, shopping centres would have been blown up, hospitals, all these things. Yeah. Then people might realise we're in a war zone. Yeah. But because we have security services, every now and then some get through. Manchester bomb attack, these different attacks. But a lot get stopped. So my biggest fear has always been, or I convince myself, and I believe I'm right, that we have to stand and make a change. But that was always about Islam. Where we're at now, I don't crazily, for a lot of people, I don't see Islam as the biggest threat to all of us. I see government tyranny. I see what happened with COVID. I see the new, whether it be the central bank digital currency coming in, the total control of your movements, whether it be the new carbon tax they want to bring in, climate change. All of these things are linked. I realise that the open borders, it's all part of a jigsaw. You just need to piece it together. Once you piece it together, you realise that all of it is linked. Yeah. Open border immigration, weakening of men, feminisation of men, breakdown of the family, attacking the family, supporting women so they can leave their husbands. All of this. They don't want you as a family to bring up your children. They want the state to bring up your children. They don't want you succeeding. They don't want becoming successful. They don't want companies becoming successful. They want corporations to run everything and every one of us to be their slaves. And that's what I realise now as we're looking at where we're at in the current climax of where we're at. I don't see, and madly I keep saying, I see Muslims being our allies in fighting this.
Indeed. Yeah, no, indeed. The government is the main enemy. So like you say, obviously there's a lot of coercion through fear. Obviously the case of what they've done to Julian Assange and stuff like that, like everyone, what they did to you, obviously putting you in jail. But obviously these things didn't work, eventually they managed to silence you by obviously the social media and the YouTube and all this sort of stuff. Like that's obviously had a massive effect because you didn't have your platforms in order to argue back and fight back.
Oh, they can tell people.
But at that point there, it must have obviously been a bit of a low after that, obviously, and
it was hard. It's hard.
Did you think, where am I going to go at this point here? And obviously there must have been...
I become worried because I thought anything they would have done to me before, I can let everyone know. Embarrasses them, exposes them. Now I'm gone. No, I can't even, no one even knows where to find me. Yeah, I can't even speak. So God knows I was worried about what's coming now. Are they going to want to finish me? That's why I was worried. Am I causing that much of a headache? And I was causing a headache for them. I had 69 million people watch my videos in a 4-week period. You know, I was reaching people. I was reaching people, and they know I was reaching people. And that's why I was cancelled. And it was a low point because I used to buzz off changing people's opinion.
That's what you're out to do, isn't it? So.
Yeah, that's what I'm out to do. A lot of people look and they think they know who I am. And then they watch an hour-long presentation of me and think, damn, I didn't realise that. I didn't know that.
If you read the headlines, you'd think this is a...
I'd hate me.
Hitler ring.
If I read the headlines, I'd hate me.
When you watch something very articulate and...
I'd think I was an arsehole, which I am at times, yeah. But I'm not the extremist, racist bigot that they say I am. Yeah? I'm not an angel, and that's probably my upbringing as not being an angel is probably the reason that I've tolerated so much and still sitting here now, and still willing to go through it.
So you know, at the point though, obviously the last couple of years, when you've been silenced on social media, when you've been silenced on YouTube, if any march get organised, they're not even going to get shown in mainstream media. At that point there, you thought, I come to a sort of dead end here. How am I going to proceed from here? Where's it going to go? Did you? I
come out of jail in 2019 in a terrible place because after I was deplatformed, they whacked me in jail. I'd done solitary confinement, different sentences.
And like I said, I've heard you talking about, was it 10 weeks in solitary confinement?
I've done 22 weeks, and then I've done 11 weeks.
But people probably don't understand what it's like. I mean, I'm very much a loner character. I'm comfortable on my own and working on my own and stuff like this, but we don't realise how much we need to interact with people.
I didn't speak.
Like this because
I couldn't use the phone.
I spent 1 week in the block and it was absolutely sent me doolally. I was not right in the head. When I came out of there, I was not in a right sort of state of mind.
And you're only allowed to do 28 days, but what they done to get around that? They took me from Wandsworth block, they shipped me to Bedford block.
Yeah, no, it's called something else. I know someone who's been on this for 18 months, been moved up to from 1 night to 28 nights in each block, and they get moved from block to block.
That's what they done to me. And then, so
and you don't get told where you get moved. You don't get told when you get moved.
Boom, come in and get you. And then you have the same process of trying to get the phone calls when you get to New Jail. So I remember, like, it may seem weird, but imagine just sitting in your bedroom with nothing in there and staying silent for a day, just one day. Just try it for 1 day. Imagine a week or a month. Yeah, you don't know when to stay in. Like I remember it was Christmas time. Yeah, and I remember thinking, I don't even know what time it is, right? Because you're just in this room. Yeah, and then it's dark early. So I'm waking up and I'm thinking, is it 7 in the morning? Is it 6 in the morning? Or is it 11 o'clock? Because you're falling asleep. Oh man, it was, and it sounds so weird to think how much damage that can do, but it damaged me. I went into jail one person, come out another.
Yeah.
I'd come out a totally different person. I was a mess. I couldn't interact with my family. I didn't want to be around people. The noise, just everything. I was like, just get away. I just wanted to be on my own. I just wanted to be on my own. But that's after, and it was horrible.
I can understand that. I mean, like I said, I was a bit of a loner anyway, comfortable in my own space, but now I am much more so after coming out of jail, and you become much more comfortable with yourself, don't you?
Oh, it was horrible, man. And then I don't know if because I end up then feeling sorry for myself, because I think I'm doing all this time in solitary confinement. I asked a paedophile how he felt about his verdict. That's all I've done. How do you feel about your verdict? As he walked into court, very calmly, he shouted loads of abuse.
Now, like I said, you're a saint for doing this sort of stuff. This is what proper journalists should be doing. Stuff that needs to be highlighted, and it's absolutely insane and disgraceful that you did get chucked in jail for this sort of stuff. But so obviously it's easy for us to point the finger at the government, Muslims and all this sort of stuff, but say you were in charge, what would your policies of immigration be, and how would you deal with the Muslims?
I'd totally stop immigration of Islamic immigration into this country.
So to completely stop
Islamic immigration into this country until they have sorted out to understand why there is so much hatred and violence. So until they have got to the bottom, say for example, let's just look.
But sorry to interject, but you say you're going to ban them from coming to this country. What about obviously Muslims in this country? And there's obviously people. I had friends that become Muslim.
Yeah, I'm not saying.
It's so difficult, isn't it?
No, it's not. I'm not saying kick them out.
Yep.
I'm not saying kick out Muslims out of here out. What I'm saying is,
what about Asian people then, or Muslims said they said they weren't Muslims in order to get to this country, in order it's very
that's what they're doing now.
Very difficult policy to uphold at the same time.
From certain countries. So you can look at Islamic nations and say, okay, no more of them, no more of them, no more of them. And the reason being, temporarily, just one example. This week, we have had a refugee come into this country. Yeah, he said he was 14. Right, he got put into a school, spent 2 years at school. Right, he's just murdered a Royal Marine, 21 years old. You see this dude? He'd already shot 2 people with an AK-47 in Serbia. He'd already sold drugs in another country. Yeah, and he wanders in here, and he's in school with our kids. Yeah. Now, what is our government's job? It's to protect us. Yeah. They're failing every day. You see all these hotels full of migrants of God knows who are sexually assaulting women, raping men in Ireland. They're coming in. Their cultures are so different. All you have to do is look at Pew Research in Afghanistan or Pakistan. You need to look at their views on women. Look at their views on homosexuals. Look at their views on free speech. Yeah. It goes totally against everything we stand for. So why do you think bringing in millions of them, from these countries is going to work? It's like mixing oil and water. Now, I'm not saying get rid of the Muslims that are here. What I'm saying is banish Sharia law, okay? Because it's oppressive. We have 100 Sharia law courts operating now in this country. Stop Islamic immigration into our nation until it's sorted. Stop. And these are all things that I stand by, and they're sensible. If you want to try and limit the problem, we already have a big enough problem. You're adding to it. Totally adding to it. There's so much. Stop all money coming from Saudi Arabia. I know you're going to find it hard, our government, because they're totally in bed with you. You're sending out missiles so they can bomb children in Yemen. But stop the money going to Saudi Arabia, coming in from Saudi. Stop it from Qatar. Stop it from Iran.
Yep.
Stop it from all these horrible nations with total human rights catastrophes.
So in terms of obviously their immigration policy at the moment, they seem like they're trying to sort of falsely come down hard on the people who come across it illegally.
They're not
illegal immigrants.
I believe in legal immigration. My mum was an immigrant to this country.
Yep.
Okay? Most of my friends are sons of immigrants.
Of course.
Okay? What I'm saying is there's a problem that he's dealing with, and there's no point in adding to it. Okay? That's it. Right? And for someone to come into our country for immigration, they have to benefit our country. They have to be skilled. They have to have money. Yeah. Yep. They have to be of a benefit to this country.
Okay,
we don't just want people coming in.
So obviously over the last sort of 20 years, there's been a massive influx of Albanian people coming to this country, and they've got a big control of the drug world.
In every town and city.
They've literally taken over from all I've seen.
Yeah, they have.
And obviously I've got nothing against Albanians, just for anyone out there. I've got lots of Albanian friends, but it's so I don't blame them. In terms of the EDL, when they had the mission statement, obviously as things have changed, don't they, on a yearly basis, and so. Obviously, the EDL, if you're involved in that, would you be against, obviously, the Albanians? Like I said, if you haven't got something good to bring to the country, you shouldn't be coming here.
You've got skill. What's your skill? Yeah? What have you got a job lined up? What are you coming here for? Coming here to claim benefits? Coming here to sell drugs? No, you're not. Simple. You're not. Coming here to claim asylum. There's no war in in Albania. What are you talking about? No other countries give them asylum. Just our weak, pathetic government. Yeah? There's so much they could do, but you see, the Tory party, they're not going to stop it because they're all benefiting from it. They're all profiteering from it. The hotels, the Serco contracts.
It's disgusting, isn't it?
This
government contracting is absolutely disgusting.
Like the PPE. If the PPE didn't wake everyone up, yeah.
But if everyone thinks that politicians get into government in order to earn this $100,000 a year, whatever this expense they talk about, these are not multi-millionaires at the point where they get into government, that they become much more.
Look at the PPE. If PPE didn't wake you up, and giving their friends contracts for track and trace, it was never even used.
Stuff that didn't work.
Stuff that didn't work. They didn't care. It is just money laundering and robbing taxpayers' money.
But they're just so good at it in this country. They don't even break the laws. The laws get bent.
No one challenges them. The laws are made to bend and accommodate.
Of course.
Whatever they want.
And so obviously in 2020 you got an award, didn't you, for the International Free Press Awards. That must have been a nice thing at a difficult time for you, obviously, a year after getting out of jail with obviously being silenced in so many ways. For you to get something like that must have been something nice.
And it was in Danish Parliament. So what I found amazing is I walk into Danish Parliament and get a standing ovation, and they all scour and hate me in our Parliament here. You'd never get a politician or even anyone of any high standing. I get so many people who talk to me, who have meetings with me, including journalists, who support and agree with me, but they're too scared to even have their picture taken with me.
Yeah.
They have made me successfully, they've done a campaign to make me toxic. Too toxic to even talk to. The reason they've done that is because they feared the ability I had to galvanise people together. The ability I had to get numbers of people active. We could get more people active than any political party could. Yeah, we get more people out on the streets than any political party could. So they didn't like that, and that's what they feared. So they've made me toxic. They've continually demonised me in the media. I think when I got that Danish Free Press Society award, I gave a speech at Danish Parliament. It's a great speech. Just put Tommy Robinson Denmark. It should come up on YouTube. And I showed and proved the lies of the media. I said, they told you this, here's the video. They told you this, here's the truth. They said this and then corrected it 2 days later. Too late. The story's out there. They've put it out there. They've lied to the public, continually lied to the public about who I am. So it's frustrating at times. And it's not just frustrating. However they brand me as and whatever they tell the public I am, they're doing it in the education system now in the UK. They teach children about me. They're not teaching them the truth. They're teaching children about me. Yeah, my children have had to grow up in that same generation where they're teaching about me as a bad guy. The media are calling me all these names. There's constant attacks by politicians against me. For what?
It's crazy, crazy. But obviously, like I said, you've had a small victory of late with the Twitter being reinstated back onto Twitter thanks to Elon Musk and a bit of freedom of speech. Obviously, getting a slight wind back in the right direction. How long it lasts, obviously, we'll wait and see. But obviously, you must have been delighted for that. And obviously, what your feelings towards Elon, obviously, you must be a big fan. I
was delighted. I wanted my old account back. I had 500,000 followers. And I worked hard to get that.
Any way you can get that back? Or is that going to be coming back?
I don't know, man.
Have you spoken to anyone within Twitter? Because I know they've literally got rid of everyone there, hasn't it?
So I started a new account.
Yeah.
And then they deleted it because I was on the ban list. And they sent me an email saying you're banned. So I appealed, said no. I was banned, so everyone knows. When on Twitter, I made a statement that Muslims make up 5% in the UK. Yet they're responsible for 90% of the convictions of gang coordinated grooming of children. There's a massive overrepresentation. 30% of the convicted men are called Mohammed. Why? You ask yourself why. Why they're not Sikh? Why they're not Hindu? What's going on here? Something's going on. Yeah? You're not allowed to ask what's going on. So I made that statement on Facebook, on Twitter, and it was hate speech, deemed as hate speech. So facts, that's a fact. That is a fact. Facts were deemed as hate speech by the We've seen all the stuff they've done now with the Twitter files, how they were coordinating and attacking people and silencing people due to their politics. But Elon Musk has come back. So my account, I'm up to 72,000 now in the space of weeks. I will continue to rise in my numbers. I'll reach the public again. In the last 12 months, I've made 6 feature-length documentaries, over an hour long each one.
Very well made as well. Some of the editing, the way they put together.
Very good. Britain, episode 1, 2, 3, 4.
Very professional.
Hope and Hate expose, and the most recent one was proving the girl was lying up in Barrow. So the most important work I've done, they haven't got the views that they should have. They should have millions of views, but that will come. Because as we get back on social media, as our platforms grow, as Rumble grows as an alternative to YouTube, as people get to hear the truth, which is what opportunities like this give me, to give my side of the story so people can listen to me, not what they're saying about me.
And what what about when obviously you get so many things right or information, then when you get some things wrong,
Yep.
but obviously you've got a platform and obviously things went wrong, and obviously talk about the libel case obviously in 2021.
I didn't get that one.
You did.
I will send you a film.
Yes.
I will show you every bit of proof.
So I was reading some statements where you were saying that you got it wrong. Or was that just mainstream media?
No, I've never said I got it wrong. I got it all right. 100% right. 100% right. Yeah. And I've got an injunction that prevents me from showing anyone
this video. And obviously, can you talk about the case? Obviously, is it correct that you had to pay 100 grand in damages, and was it up to 500 grand in costs?
No, it's 1.2 million. It's at.
And obviously, was it? I saw part of the breakdown was 70 grand for them to get the witness statements.
They took 5 witness statements. They put a bill for £35,000. They get 100% uplift, £70,000, and I have to pay it. So very early on, I knew this is financial terrorism. This isn't justice. A boy gets a bottle of water overhead in the playground.
Yeah.
£1.2 million.
Crazy.
This is, and that's the courts are used. You see the court that ruled against me.
Well, it's one of these things, like you say, when they can't beat you on other sort of fronts, then they will. They haven't been able to. They haven't been able to. They haven't do this, so we're going to do it with financial means. Similar to what's happened to Alex Jones, obviously in America at the moment with the
Sandy Hook,
which is absolutely insanity.
It's lawfare, and if you actually listen in the Hope Not Hate expose I done, the recorded conversation I had a mole within Hope Not Hate. He says that Nick Lowles has said, who's the leader of Hope Not Hate, who are linked with all our politicians, their job is to financially destroy me, so that I can't operate. And that's what they've been successful in doing. They bankrupt me in a court case for £1.2 million. And I told the truth. I was the only journalist in the UK who told the truth on that issue. I can prove that, categorically prove it. But I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to show anyone. I get 2 years in jail. Insane. And you see, even in that court case, it's like, I can say certain things. So certain things are, the newspapers blew up this worldwide story. The incident happens here. Yeah. 6 weeks later, the video goes viral. In between these 6 weeks, a celebrity Muslim lawyer, Shamina Begum's lawyer, he puts in a criminal record check on the Syrian family. The results come back, say, on the 25th. The next day, the video goes viral across the world. It's all planned. Yeah, the whole thing was planned to push a narrative and an agenda. As the video goes viral, I wear a hidden camera. They close the school down. So I think I know the truth because all the parents contact me. Everyone's telling me I report the truth. Then they sue me and they close the school. No one else talks. Teachers don't talk. So I go and wear a camera. I knock on an Asian teacher's house. Yeah, he comes out and I'll show you all this. He comes out and he says, "Tommy," I said, "You know why I'm here? I've got a court case now for lying." Yeah? And he says, "Tommy, I took the money." I'm like, "What?" He says, "I took the money." I said, "What do you mean you took the money?" He goes, "Bro, I'm not allowed to talk about it. I'm not allowed to mention anything legally. I can't say a word." I said, "Okay, who paid you?" Kirklees Council. So I looked at who the leader of Kirklees Council is. The leader of Kirklees Council is a Muslim fella. That Muslim fella's brother is the imam who organised the protest outside of Batley School, yeah, where the teacher had to go into hiding. He also organised a protest outside this school. Yeah? So this imam, this leader of the council, which is the whole story is insane. I've done an amazing film on it. Yeah? They're paid, and he got 18 grand. Yeah? He says they give me £18,000. I've got it all on camera. Yeah? They made him sign a non-disclosure agreement. So I go to the head teacher's house. The head teacher says, "Tommy, I joined teaching to help poor children." It's teary. Yeah? He says, "What they've done to that kid, the English kid," he goes, "it's disgusting." Yeah? And I said, "But we were all told these certain things." And then he says, "I've signed an NDA." I said, "Did they pay you?" He says, "Yeah." I said, and he says, "Hush money." Yeah? He says. And then he says, they come into my office, when it blew up, because Theresa May speaks about it at the United Nations meeting, yeah? They said, "Get rid of it." He goes, "When I say they, it comes from up there. Get rid of this problem." Yeah? They came up, they called me in, they made me sign a piece of paper. They threatened him with his pension. I signed that bit of paper. He wasn't even allowed to say goodbye to other teachers. Part of his non-disclosure agreement is he's not allowed to talk to the other teachers. He was escorted off the school property and he hasn't worked a day since. Then I go to the other I've got all the teachers saying it. We're not allowed to, but they don't know they're on camera. I've got the whole lot. Yeah. So they hid from the public. They think by paying everyone, which is what they're doing, everything, these non-disclosure agreements, they silence anyone from telling the truth. And then they stuck me in court. I brought to court 7 undercover footage showing 7 teachers saying what I said was true. Yeah, talking the truth. When they're all on camera, they're saying everything. I've got so much of it. Yeah. Then I brought five pupils to court to give evidence. Say one girl, for example, she comes to court, she gives evidence that the Syrian boy beat her up with a hockey stick in school. Yeah. Her school records show that she is the only pupil, the teacher says you are the only pupil in your year group who has had 0 negatives. She got 11 A's at school, the equivalent. She's now studying law. She comes to court, gives evidence to the judge. Yeah, he beat me up. Yeah. Another boy comes to court. He called my mum a white slag. He done this. He attacked me. When the boy had a broken arm. Yeah, the boy had a broken arm in the video online, and they said he was through because he was a victim of racist bullying. Yeah. I knock at the head teacher's house and say, how did he break his arm? He said, do you not know how he broke his arm? I did know. He goes, he was attacking a boy 4 years younger. Yeah? And someone pushed him off. That's how he broke his arm. So, and the head teacher says, I know because I investigated it. So I said, nothing to do with racism then? No. Nothing to do with this? No. He was the aggressor. Yeah? So we're just lied to, yeah? The whole time. So that's how he broke his arm. I've got the head teacher tell me how he broke his arm. But all of this evidence is put to the court. The judge's verdict was everyone, the 7 teachers on covert recording and the 5 pupils that come to court were all lying. And his actual verdict is sometimes people just lie. They don't need a reason to lie. That's the most intellectual man in our country, one of them. That's your verdict. And at the end of that, he gives me an injunction saying I cannot share or show anyone the footage. I say, well, if it's such a clear-cut case, the public will come to the same conclusion as you, won't they, my lord? Yeah? They'll think the same as you, Your Honour. Yeah. So, but that, and when I realised this is the same court. Did you watch the Johnny Depp case?
Yeah, of course.
Johnny Depp was found guilty by the same court in England. Yeah. And actually, if you read the case and read the judge ruled against police evidence, against witness evidence, but ruled against him. That's when I realised this isn't about Tommy Robinson. This is about a narrative. That's the Me Too narrative. Men are bad, women are victims. Yeah, that is the narrative. So they didn't care that it was Johnny Depp. They ruled against everything and found against him. As soon as he gets an open trial where people can see, he's cleared. His name's cleared. My name's still not be cleared. People like yourselves can look it up and think, oh, I lied. I didn't lie. I've got every bit of evidence that I didn't lie.
So what's the plan for you, the objective for you now moving forward? Like I say, when the EDL started, it was to, obviously, against radicalism. Radical Islam.
Yeah.
What is it now? Because obviously, like you say, there's radical Muslim views and all this sort of stuff in different parts of the world. But obviously, is it not? This is going to be going on regardless. Obviously, different cultures and stuff like this. Like I say, is it not the government that you should be targeting who has too soft a stance, obviously, to protect what we've got?
I actually think it's all been done on purpose. We give a safe haven for many radical jihadists because it suited us because they were fighting the Russians. We imported them, many of them. We gave them safe places. We let the Muslim Brotherhood operate in London. We let them have bases here. Many of the Islamic organisations that can flourish in this country, Hizb ut-Tahrir, these sorts of groups that are not banned, they're banned in all the Islamic countries. Yeah, they're allowed to operate here. And that's sort of like been done by our government. I think they want us all divided. I've played my part, yeah? But they want us all divided.
100%.
Because whilst we're divided into Muslim, non-Muslim, black, white, gay, this, all these different things now, while we're all battling each other over this bullshit, yeah? While we're all going at each other.
They can steer the shit wherever they want to.
They do what they want.
About
they take every one of our freedoms. So with COVID, with the vaccine, with all these things we've seen, when they bring in this digital currency, they want to know every bit of your movement, every step you make, every movement you make, and they will take the Muslims' freedoms the same way they take my freedoms. And that's the biggest threat that I currently see. So what do I want to do? I'm still in journalism. I've done 6 documentaries last year. I've got 2 more that I'm working through. They're both the final 2 episodes of The Rape of Britain in Telford. One, we look at the council. We're going to expose that council big time with what I've got on them. And we've got 1 more to tell a girl's story. And I need to finish them. I don't have the resources to finish them, if I'm honest.
Of course.
You know the current climax.
Well, hopefully now that you're back on social media, the support
comes.
I hope it does. Hopefully come, I'm sure.
Because we can't finish the work we're doing.
No, I'm sure.
And we've got, and obviously because of the current climax, everyone's so skinned.
And so going on to that sort of follows on to sort of a quick fire few questions. Yep. Obviously, I've seen that the mainstream media again trying to put up rumours of donations. You've had nearly £3 million worth of donations and all this sort of stuff.
It's very simple, yeah. I went bankrupt because I had no money. I had the biggest investigation by the top London team to find my finances.
Yep.
What did they find? 0. Nothing.
Cool.
Yeah? Whatever's come in, I've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on legal fees, yeah? Hundreds of thousands. I got hit for 1.2 million. Unfortunately, Jamal, he shouldn't have had anything, but the boy in the court case hasn't had a penny, yeah? Yep. So I haven't got a penny. Right? So none of the solicitors have been paid, their solicitors, because I ain't got no money. They've just hit me for another 20. So I come out of bankruptcy, they took me straight back to court. I come out of bankruptcy, so I'm supposed to be able to get on my life. They took me straight back to court and hit me for another 30 grand. So I've got now till 2 days to pay another 30 grand, or they're going to start bankruptcy proceedings against me again. I've tried to get a payment plan off them, which they won't give me. Yeah? So I'm going to end up going bankrupt again. Then they get my bank accounts for a year again. Not that that's going to stop me, because it didn't stop me last time. I can still maintain working, still maintain producing content. Yep. So it just means that they're not going to get their money because I haven't got it. So some people, I look at some people and think, well, would you rather they had the money? Would you rather that whatever was given to these lot? There ain't no money in me.
And I know you obviously know Andrew Tate for a long time, spent a lot of time with him. And what do you think of him becoming a Muslim of late?
I think it's a very bad idea. I think it's a dangerous idea. I don't think from his own comments, he doesn't know that much about it. So why would someone so intelligent convert to something without knowing all the ins and outs, and then not just convert to it, but also give instructions for his followers to convert to it? He's a very influential man. A lot of people follow him. I know that he was in a position, and he is in a position where he felt he was trying to stay alive and things like that. And I know that a lot of his views would suit Islamic views as well. I know that he's probably looking like most other people, thinking, who's standing up to this crap? And it's the Islamic community on a lot of issues. They don't bow, they don't pander, they don't move on their viewpoint, whereas the church does, everyone else does, everyone else is weak. They ain't that weak, and I can see how that can become attractive.
There's strength in unity, and the one thing that Muslims do,
it's a brotherhood.
Yeah, and it is the way they do stick together. And I saw this, and I see this, and
and that's appealing.
It is appealing, 100%.
It's appealing.
I wish other people would.
It's appealing when we don't have a community anymore. When they've broke your community, broke your family, broke your identity.
100%.
There's something very strong there.
100%.
And that is what I think he's converted for. I don't know. I had a podcast due with him to sit down and go through a lot of this and have a real interesting talk on it. But obviously he's in jail now.
Indeed. And so what do you think of, real quickly, about Julian Assange? I know you met him briefly while you were in jail. And what do you think of him?
I think he's a hero. I don't think he should be in jail. I think that what's happening to him is criminal and disgusting, barbaric. I think he's been tortured by the British state, by the world's governments, by the cabal, whatever you want to call it. They're using him to set an example, to instill fear into everyone else. You stand up and you speak out, we can do what we want. And they can do what they want. They're just
pure tyranny. He's going to go to America and spend the rest of his life in jail in the worst conditions ever, not see anyone, and he's go through already.
He's gone through the worst conditions.
Has he not gone through enough already?
Mate, I was in Belmarsh. I spent 12 weeks in solitary in that place on my own. Yeah. He's up. He's gone, man. His head's gone. He's crying, and he's gone. I spoke to him twice through the windows because he was in the hospital wing. But even the screws told me, he's mental, mate.
It was just so easy. Like I said, So yeah, like you're saying, Julian's obviously a saint, and the same with Edward Snowden, who chose to give up everything to go and live in Russia.
I know, mate. And I think that what they exposed is what we're all fighting. The illegal wars, the illegal murders by governments, all for oil, all for profit, which is what's going on in Ukraine now. Same bullshit. I think that we, like you have the Great Reset. We need a people's reset. People really need to unite together, and they really need to challenge everything now more than ever, or we're all going to become slaves to their systems. And the only way you're going to get that is through unity. And the West, or people of the West, we've had such degeneracy now, which is why a lot of people are converting. What alternative have we got? If you've got the Muslim community and you've got what they're offering, what is the alternative now? Because it's just degeneracy. Yeah, it's so weak. It's so pathetic. Yeah, and I think that we really need to rebuild communities. We really need to rebuild our identities, and we need to definitely have unity. But that unity is going to have to come from everyone, because the only time that the government are going to be fearful, the only time the cabal are going to be fearful, is when they see those that dislike each other, those that have problems with each other, standing together against them. Our enemy is the establishment.
Of course. And so
I'll probably get put on some terror watch list.
What do you think of Elon Musk? Is he one of the good guys? One of the good guys in the elitist position?
I don't know. I'm thrown on it. Time will tell. Yeah, he has been amazing with his takeover of Twitter. He's been amazing speaking out and allowing stuff against Pfizer. I think he's had personal experience. His cousin's been made ill from the vaccine. He was made ill from the vaccine. He's now seeing what they rule up to. Will he survive if he continues on that path? Who knows? Yeah? Because a lot of people just end up dead when you whether you start looking at cures for cancer, whether you start looking at electricity, or you start challenging anything that is their profits, big pharma, anything like that. And they want control. And how do they use control? Through big tech. They censor, they know your movements, they know your every move. If he comes in and gives another platform for us, is it a ruse? I don't know. Time will tell.
Alex Jones?
I like Alex Jones. I respect Alex Jones. Alex Jones has, what he said was wrong, yeah? And that's what we say.
If you say 1,000 things, you're going to make a few mistakes along the way.
You're going to make a few mistakes, but who do I blame for making that mistake? When they lie so much, when the government lies so much about so much, when there are definitely false flags or things that they let happen, when there are all these things, you don't know what to believe.
There's no chance for journalism, though. If you're going to make a mistake and be penalised so heavily, I know if you've got a huge platform, then it's... But this is the problem.
And he apologised, right?
Yeah, if you've got a huge platform similar to what's happened, it's crazy. It's insane.
He had apologised. So, yeah, I respect Alex Jones, and Alex Jones has been right about so much. So much of the things he called were going to happen have been right. As of David Icke, so many of the things, these people were destroyed. Their credibility destroyed, their names attacked, they were slandered for a generation by politicians, by media, they were mocked, they were mugged off.
As time goes on and they're seeming...
And when this all falls flat, because it's going to fall flat, there's going to be chaos. When this breaks, the public are going to look to the people who have been telling the truth. They're going to look and trust the people who are telling the truth through all this.
Of course.
Which is us.
And
our time is coming.
Hopefully. What about Rishi Sunak? Obviously, I know he's not Muslim, but
he's just another globalist, Shield. He's just another globalist, man. He's working for the globalists.
But I know that I read that you did. Did you like Boris? You were in favour of Boris?
I like Boris's character. Okay, Boris had the opportunity to be a very strong leader. Yeah. He was a weak, pathetic joke, I guess his missus was running the place, wasn't she?
Yeah. So
it's pathetic. But he had a massive opportunity.
Yeah, of course.
He could have been a great figure. As could Theresa May when she took over. She could have been the new Iron Lady. She had the opportunity to really address a lot of issues. The public are crying out for someone to just get in and deal with this crap. Yep. Deal with the borders. Deal with all these boats coming in. Get them out of the hotels. Why are you putting them before British people? Why are you importing alien ideologies and alien cultures?
It's crazy. We're the country's at breaking point. Everyone's so poor. We don't need our taxes.
30%. Yeah, but not even the taxes for that. Working men trying to get a hotel now. 30% of hotels are full straight away. So the price of the hotels will go up.
I went to a hotel the other day, and it must be used purely for this immigration. There must be literally a handful of rooms for a normal hotel, and it was crazy. It was to be in there, and it was scary. What about Mark Rowley? So do you remember who Mark Rowley is?
That's the copper who said I was out to do a terrorism, wasn't it?
Well, no, he was the one who said you sort of helped instigate the Finsbury Park mosque thing. You know, is I
just find it insane.
Absolutely crazy. Piers Morgan.
I'll send you my film. He's in it. Piers knows what he's doing. He's a clever man. He blows himself up when he needs to blow himself up. But
he's very thought-provoking, isn't he? I don't think he's on any side of it.
No, he's not. He just makes it up. He goes with whatever he thinks.
Of course.
But he's on uncensored. Is his programme in it?
Yep.
I'm the most censored person in Britain. He's too much of a coward to have me back on, because last time I was on with him, he looked ridiculous, yeah? And he'll look ridiculous if I ever get back on with him again, because he doesn't have truth on his side when he comes to debate. Anyone who comes to debate me on the issues I talk on, they can't win. I don't think I've ever lost a debate, because, and I'm not being big-headed in saying that, I have the truth on my side, they're fighting from a losing position.
And what about anyone who's still paying a BBC licence?
Cancel it, man, because you're funding the organisation to discredit yourselves, to give you to slander yourself, to attack yourselves. The BBC attacked us. Anyone who's normal, we're under attack by them. Their propaganda they are pursuing to reach. The biggest problem we have as well is the next generation, because the next generation are so confused through indoctrination from the schools, through the sexualisation of kids, all these different things that are happening. We're in a mess. The West is in a total mess. We need a revolution.
It's crazy. Who even wants their kids at school at the moment? But like the stuff they're putting into the children's heads at school about this, you don't have to be of any sort of sex or anything like this. But I was just seeing the other day, seeing a girl talk about it, and she was a tomboy up until 13, 14 years old, and now she's completely not a tomboy in any given way. Yeah. But she wasn't getting influenced. Like right now, if she was like this, wearing baseball caps and just football shirts and stuff like this, I hate the thing. And
50% of them are more autistic. The kids are changing.
And like I say, a lot of children, you're so lost as a child. Like I was all over the place as a child, heads crazy and stuff like this. It's so easy to influence people by planting these dangerous seeds in them, and it's
confusing. And the suicide rates and the people who have had the operation and then don't want it. My old cameraman used to be the same. Yep. He would become a girl. And he became a girl, and when he got to 16, he just realised and he took all the hormones, drugs, and then he just realised he's gay. And by that point, he's got big thighs from the hormones.
Yeah.
pair of tits that he has to strap up every day to look like a boy again because he's just a boy, but he's a gay boy.
Yeah, what about the rapist who's now been chucked into the women's jail as well?
And now Nicola Sturgeon's just done a U-turn, isn't she?
Fucking outrageous.
Everything's outrageous at the minute. There's so much, it can frustrate you. So it's like, that's why, even when I sit and think, I've been tired at times, and I've been exhausted, and I just think, I don't know how much more of this I can handle. And then I see so much, it just triggers, I just think, no, look what they're doing.
Well, like I said, I take my hat off to a lot of the stuff that you have done, all the fight for the freedom of speech and this sort of stuff. Like I said, I've got nothing against the Muslim or Asian community in any given way, but anyone who's sort of exposes grooming gangs is a saint in my eyes, regardless of where these grooming gangs come from. It doesn't matter.
Thanks.
So, I take my hat off to you, and I'd like to obviously really thank you for your time today, Tommy. I'd love to get you back on at some point. I've got a few friends who are really strongly opinionated Muslims who I'm sure you could have.
Get me on with them.
You could have an excellent
I'm up for the debate. I think now more than ever we need more speech, not less speech. We need more speech.
100%.
We need people like that sitting around tables having a discussion, trying to find out who's right and who's correct on it in a controlled manner.
100%. Like I said, I've got two people who I've got in mind who are really articulate like yourself, so you'd be able to have a really good, proper debate with them. But
I'll win.
Well, this wait and see. But back onto yourself, how can people support you then? Obviously, we know you're back on Twitter now. The link's going to be below, guys. How can people support you? If you do PayPal and stuff, is back open? What's your website, Tommy?
Yeah, books? PayPal banned me. I'm banned from everything. My banks have all closed me. But I work for a company called Urban Scoop. That's who produces the content. That's who manages everything. I just work for them. So if you go on and support Urban Scoop, you are supporting some amazing journalism from all of a team of people who research, who share the news and the content and create documentaries.
What about website?
Urban Scoop. Urban Scoop. Urbanscoop.news.
Your books?
My books, you can get, here you go. Books? So most of the things I've just spoke about, well, actually, all of them are in here. This one's still on Amazon. This has been number one bestseller 3 times. This one went to number 3 on Amazon, my new one, and they cancelled it. So this one, unfortunately, because it was selling so well, I've got 10,000 books, and they're just sat in a room because they cancelled it. So no one can find it now. So if you want to get both of these, they're on www.trsilence.com. And it would help me out because I've got a room full of them. Were flying, and then now all the profit from selling that book went in to buy more, and they just sat there because they cancelled it. So, and ironically, you can go on Amazon and you can buy Hitler's book, Mein Kampf, but you can't buy Tommy Robinson's. Crazy times.
Crazy. And obviously, so the best place for anyone who wants to reach out to you would be through Twitter at the moment.
Twitter, Tommy Robinson NS, or my telephone.
Anyone who wants to sort of donate or help to the cause, obviously, get in touch with Urban Scoop or go through your Twitter.
Go on Urban Scoop and there'll be a link at the top of my Twitter profile. There'll be support our work. You can go on there. And make sure you like and subscribe to this YouTube channel as well.
Absolutely, much appreciate. Any shout outs you want to give to any nearest and dearest or any of the Urban Scoop team? Or
everyone who's standing for free speech. You know, right now, the most important platforms and the most important people are people like this channel, the ones who aren't coerced and aren't controlled by big corporations and big money, because they can still put content on where they can sit on the fence and give content, whereas most of the others are controlled. From LBC are controlled, even GB News is controlled. Yeah, then GB News, I know from the presenters, they're not allowed to mention my name. Yeah, so that's meant to be the free speech platform. There's all these different free speech things which aren't actually free speech. So go past all of them, the big corporation media, reach out to the smaller ones and help build them up. So anyone watching this, give it a share, give it a like, join the platform, share the content, and subscribe.
So again, much appreciated for your time, Tommy, and until next time, thank you very much.
Cheers, man.